Well, good evening to everybody. I've just been working in the garden today, clearing the pond. I've been down to Knockvicar Organic Gardens and bought some delicious vegetables. And hello Annie, hello Marion. And I thought what I'd do is take you all down to the pond to show you the transformation. And talking about transformation, I'm just standing here now, as you can see yourself, looking at the sedums. And they're just sort of mountainous, really. Just sort of hills and mountains of colour. And I'm also looking towards the little bamboo arch that I made. And I see a beautiful dark red nasturtium, as well as the orange ones. And there are some beautiful yellow nasturtiums here in the old wheelbarrow. Isn't that a beauty? So there's yellow, and there's dark yellow, and there's orange, and there's red. The red ones are beautiful because they're quite velvety. And while I'm showing you the flowers here, which, as you know, is the last great feast for the bees, and I've just spotted the most gorgeous bumblebee. An absolute beauty. There she is. Look at that. Beautiful creature. That's the tractor moving along the road at the bottom of the driveway. So I just want to show you the nasturtiums here that have all grown out of the compost that I put in around the rose. That's the rose there. You can just see the rose hips at the top. The nasturtiums are just wonderful for the bees. But I do particularly like these vivid orange. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen ones as vivid as that. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, there's a gorgeous butterfly. Look at this. Let's see if I can. It's fluttering about, looking for something to settle on, and there we go. Oh, no, it's come up again. It's flown off in that direction. Right. We'll head off down towards the pond. Oh, by the way, couldn't remember the name of this flower the other day. Astrantia. I've always got stuck on that one. Jack? Lovely big fat seeds here on the fennel. Anyone who wants to order seeds from the seed site, there'll be a link in the box underneath this video. Got some gorgeous fennel seeds this year, very plump and healthy looking. Okay, so we'll head off now down towards the pond. And the Michaelmas daisies are out. Aren't they beautiful? Now, there was someone on Facebook who was asking me about weeds. Colette, what do you do about weeds? Well, if ever you care to look closely at the photographs that I take or the videos I make, it's a very noisy tractor. you will see there are masses of weeds. I don't get vexed about weeds because it's quite simple. Nature abhors a vacuum, and wherever there isn't something planted, nature will plant something there. So if you don't want weeds, plant as thickly and diversely as you can. There is actually less and less space for weeds in my garden, and all weeds are unwanted plants. But sometimes if there's a big space, they can become sort of a monoculture, and I think that's where the problems start. But the occasional little bit, like this driveway is filled with weeds. But I don't look closely. I look around me. That goonera's got massive. I noticed that the goonera on the far side of the pond has almost died away. So I think the shade, the trees have just shaded it out. Now I know down on Achill Island there's a problem with goonera. And the people say that, the goonera's taken over. Well, all I have to say is there was nothing there in the first place. And as I said before, goonera will take over if given the space. And nature abhors a vacuum. So if there's the space and the light and the conditions for a plant to thrive, thrive it will. So I suggest to anyone who thinks that there's no way to get rid of the goonera problem on Achill, go and plant some trees. You'll be amazed at how trees can deal with an excess of one plant, which is a monoculture of goonera. So here we go. Jack! He's inclined to just keep walking and go out on the road. Now, look at this. Best put my glasses on. Don't want to be falling in the pond. So I've been clearing the pondweed. I've been cutting back the goonera leaves. I've left the seed heads up because they look just gorgeous. This is a weed here, look. People are going about weeds. Look, this is a weed. But it's sort of contained. I pull up bits of it, as you can see. I leave a little clump of it because it is one of those beautiful flowers that comes up in the spring that the bees love. Now, what's the name of it? Oh. Jack, come back here. Can't think of it at the moment. Now, so the pondweed is actually a harvest in itself. Look how clear that water is. Oh, Jack running to see the car. Jack, come here. Of course, all this water is coming from the spring well that I dug out up in the fairy wood. I'm going to cross over these stones. So I've been just trimming back lots of plants, and you can see what I've been. I'll just bring the camera around this way. I've used anything that I've cut as a mulch. So you can see I've just packed loads and loads of stuff in underneath these trees, which will all help the fertility of the soil and help to feed the trees. And you can see where I've been putting pondweed. Now the pondweed has got long roots on it. It's not too difficult to pull up, but you can see all the silt in the roots. So there's lots of food there for all these trees and plants. I've been dividing it up between, as much as possible. So you can see the pondweed that's left for me to clear. It's quite a big job. And as I've been clearing the pondweed, I've been working along the bank as well and cutting back and clearing and just giving it just a really good tidy up. I only do this once a year, and I leave, now the pondweed has grown a lot this year because we didn't have a frosty winter. Normally it dies back quite a bit, so there's about double the amount that there'd normally be. Again, it is hard work to, lift, to take out, but once it's done, it's done. And as I said, this is all food for the other plants and trees and shrubs. So we'll just walk up round this way to the end of the pond. I've been trimming back the spirea and even things like dogwood. Look, I've just been stacking it up underneath trees because again that will biodegrade and really feed everything, because this was a very, very abused 3 acres that was very hungry, very needy. Now you can see, looking up from this angle, how much clearing I've done. And this gunera here, which was a massive gunera, I'll just pull back so you can see. In fact, this was the mother plant that I took all the other gunera from. This was really massive down here at one point. Now you can see I haven't actually been cutting anything back here, but there's only about 4 or 5 leaves left on this plant. The plant has been shaded out. So it does need a fair amount of light to grow. So I'm glad that I did divide it up when I did, Otherwise I'd be scarce of gunera, would be a scarce plant. So here again you can see the pondweed. This is the little stream that flows into the pond, and this stream is all coming from the spring well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk up along the stream so you can see where all this water is coming from. But I'll just go around the other side of the pond first. This is amazing, by the way. This little pine tree is actually seeding itself. And I must remember to talk to you about this because this is quite important about the seeds and what's happening this year. And just go around here. So these are the little bits of gunera that I have managed to grow and plant around the pond edge. This has got a nice seed head on it. It'll be kept fairly constrained because of the plants that are already there. And again you can see where the pondweed has been stacked here. That's my little dogwood tunnel. And I've been trimming back all the willow as well. So I've got lots and lots of new bits for basket making. And there's another little bit of gunera that I put in there. I think it was last winter. And there you go. I reckon another 2 days work should have it all done. So I'm going to walk up along following the water course so you can see where it all comes from. And as I walk, I want to tell you about what I've noticed what I've noticed happening with Mother Nature this year. I have touched on it before. The fact that we have double the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere than what the plant life on Earth can deal with. So therefore, we would need to double the amount of plant life on Earth. That's quite simple, isn't it? And, it's not a complex thing to understand. We need to ensure that we are in balance with Mother Earth. Because if we're not, bad things will happen. And we've already seen some of the results in terms of the way the climate is becoming quite extreme. Now, I have come to the conclusion that it's not necessarily trees that we need, although we do need trees, because in terms of the amount of carbon that they can absorb, well, they have masses and masses of leaves which absorb the carbon. But we need to plant, and to plant as much as we can. Now, whether it's crops that we're planting, and I'm not talking masses of monoculture, because that's no good for the wildlife, and no good, therefore, for us, because we're all connected, don't you know? But we need just to plant, and as much diversity as we can. And as in what I've done here at Bealtaine Cottage, it's multi-layered. And the more layers and the more complexity, the healthier it is. It's a bit like food. The more complexity you can put into your food, the better a diet, the healthier you will be. So it is a multi-layered approach. Now, Mother Earth has already begun to address this problem. The problem of twice the amount of carbon and only half of the plants needed to deal with it. And what she's been doing, as all good mothers, is not punishing us, but trying her best to balance things, trying her best to address and redress the problem. So I've noticed that there is a massive amount of seeds being put out this year. I cannot be the only person on the planet who's noticed this. I dare say most of the climatologists and scientists and people who deal at a very high level with the problems of CO2 are not aware of this, because many of them would appear to be operating only through one lens. But there's been massive amount of seeds put out by trees and shrubs and flowers, and it's Mother Earth trying to balance the problem with CO2 to create more. Now she's trying to do this on her own. We should be helping her. We should be saying, thanks for all these seeds. We'll make sure they get to the right spot. Now, as I'm going on about this, I'm going to keep walking. And walking along this stream bed. There we go. You can see the water here. You see it moving? Isn't that beautiful, actually? That's mesmeric, isn't it? Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Mm. Jack? Come on. Keep walking up here. So anyway, that's my observation, and that's what I believe is happening. And again, it would definitely confirm the Gaia theory that the Earth is a living, sentient being, and we're all part of that. We're all connected. Now, the stream is flowing out of what I call the silt pond. And I've explained the silt pond before in a previous video and how it works. So I won't go over old ground with that. Jack? He's a little rascal. See, I've just had him out in the car and now he's got all car orientated. So, okay. So that's where the water flows into the silt pond. And you can see here, a little stream going up that way. So we go on up. We're just walking now towards the very edge of the Bealtaine Cottage land. This is the boundary. Jack, come here, don't be going next door. So here we go, you can see where the water's flowing there. And on down she goes. I'm going to step on this wobbly stone. Right, okay. And now up this bank. There we go. So, got to come down here and cut back some of the brambles. This is one of the little rowan trees I planted. Beautiful little thing. Okay. So here we are. Jack? Come on. Jack, come on. You naughty boy, you've been next door. Naughty boy. Go on away with you. So, this is the little stream bed now as it flows round the very edge of my land. That's the boundary fence. So we work our way up. And you can see where all those ferns are in there. And that's the little ditch. So wherever possible, you know, when I was directing the water from this newly dug spring well, I tried to use the old water courses. So you can hear it now. You don't see much of it because it's cut in under the bank a little bit there. And going to go on. And this is the little stream bed that I dug out that Jack is now walking up and muddying as he goes. I best try and get up to the top before he decides to jump into the spring well. So I dug out this little stream, you see, to carry the water from the newly dug spring well, which is here. Now, all all that water that you've seen going into the pond all comes from this little well that I dug out. And there's hardly any movement on the well, but you can see a little bit of a shimmer there, and that's where the water is bubbling up from the aquifer, which is very deep underground. So this water that's coming out here is actually quite old. Could be 50 or 100 years old. It depends. It depends how deep that aquifer is. I think it's fairly deep actually, and I think it goes under this ground a fair bit. So now we're going to walk on up. This is actually the fairy wood, and so looking back there, you can see the amount of clearing that I've done. Trying to let a little bit more light in, because there's a few little trees there that are struggling. Just trying to get that balance right. So what we'll do is we'll walk to the right and go up through the fairy wood. Very magical, isn't it? Now I put a few little posts up on Facebook last night, and it was just, just very simple. It was, pointing out that magic is all around us, and we do need to take note of it and, make the time. We need to listen, we need to look, we need to engage with Mother Earth. It doesn't matter where we live, there are always little places where you can go to touch base. And there were, I think there was one comment that kind of annoyed me just a little bit, and it was just something, and I'm just paraphrasing now, it was something to the effect of, well, you can't sort of appreciate this, if you're impoverished, if you're struggling, whatever. Well, I really take issue with that. I absolutely take issue with that statement or that inference. Because as I put up on Facebook today, I come from a family of 11 children, 9 living. I was born in the middle of that family. I was actually born at home. My father delivered me. We lived in a 2-bedroomed house with an outside toilet and no bathroom, cold running water and no garden. It was a little terraced house, those little back-to-back terraced houses in Omagh, County Tyrone. My father was unemployed. Life was very tough. There was, hunger, feelings of hunger was de rigueur. Quite often, you would be coming home from school with your feet squelching in your leaky shoes. So money was very tight, but there was always magic. There was always magic. And that you cannot equate impoverishment with lack of magic. The body may be impoverished, the mind is never impoverished. And anyone who has been at that particular station in life that I was at, that I was born into, knows that. And I'm not one of these people who say, oh, you've got to, get out there and make the best you can, etc., etc. No, I'm not even going to, go into that arena. All I'm saying is that your mind is only ever impoverished by yourself. And if anyone ever read the story of, say, Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison, most of that time in solitary confinement, his mind was not impoverished. And for him, there must have been magic, because I will always remember that beaming smile on his face as he walked out of prison that day, when he walked free. In fact, I think he was smiling for the rest of his life. And, he said, and again, I'm just paraphrasing, but you cannot imprison the mind. And there is this essential part of every human being which is capable of connecting to the magic of Mother Earth and keeping it deep, deep within their hearts, deep, deep within their souls, within their spirits, and having that to feast upon. And it was especially my mother who taught me that. And my mother had a very, very difficult life. So, well, Jack, shall we go in and make a cup of tea? And you could probably do with a few cream crackers. Oh, yes, 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 she says, oh, yes, yes, tail wagging furiously. Right then. So we shall go in, get that stove lit, boil the kettle, and make a nice cuppa. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everyone.